Takes a little while.
Okay, let's begin, Eduardo.
Well, I'd like to welcome all of you who are going to be seeing this later, and all of you that are here now. And we call this here at Light Dialogic, what we call this is getting to know you, getting to know our community and the people that make up our community. And today we're getting to know Heather Wickman, an author and human being helper and healer, and also horse woman. I would call her a horsewoman because I'd like to be called a horseman. So I'm going to call you a horsewoman, Heather. And it's such a joy to have you here because we've shared the last few, at least what, a year and a half now.
Yeah.
Of friendship. And here I live over the mountain from where Heather and her husband Colby live. And so it's a long story, but I want to introduce her because I'm very proud of what she's doing and how much love I have for horses, that it's so good for me to see someone working with that powerful a love that they produce for us. So yes, Heather, it's such a joy to have you here. Thanks for being here with us today.
Oh, I'm excited to share a little bit about this beautiful medicine of the horse.
Well, we're excited too to hear about what you've learned recently. Some things have happened that you shared with me that I'm excited about hearing about. I feel that when you have horses in your life every day for years, it's something we can't explain to other people. Most people say, "Wow, that's too much work, and they're such big animals." And then when you're around them for a while, we fall into this new kind of energy source that comes from them.
Yeah.
And so obviously you know what that's about. Can you share what you're learning from them and what you're learning about it with us?
Yeah. Where to even begin? So I want to back up just a little bit. I grew up with horses. So Zephyr Blue was my childhood horse, and my dad got Zephyr for me when he was 3, and I was maybe 7 or 8, and I'm pretty short, and I was like a peanut then. And Zephyr was a big quarter horse, and I literally grew up with this horse. My parents gave me full autonomy just so I would be gone for all day riding this horse bareback through the fields of Minnesota. And in hindsight, this horse like taught me so much and so deeply about what it means to be human. And I didn't realize it at the time. And now as an adult doing some of this work, I'm like, oh my God, I can't believe I was able to grow up like that and have such gratitude for, like you said, Eduardo, the space that horses hold and kind of the insight that they provide if you're open to it. That being said, we have 4 horses now, 2 of which Eduardo are Eduardos. So we have Bandy, and we have Max and Adelia and Gabe, and they every day teach me a ton. And I want to be really clear that I don't pretend to understand fully their magic. They have given me little glimpses, and there's a bunch of things that I can share with you, but I think we're just scratching the surface on actually what it is that they can provide here to us. And that's one of the most exciting things I think there is. So, Edward, I'm going to start with coherence. And so this is something that you and I have a lot of interest in this idea of heart coherence. And if folks aren't familiar with this concept, just think of it as all of our systems in our body, all of our bodies kind of working together in harmony. And when we're in a state of coherence, we have this very highly ordered heart rhythm. And you can feel that in a space of feeling relaxed and calm. And we also have a way to measure it. We've got these little M wave detectors that you can clip on your ear and actually see when you're in this coherent heart pattern. And it has tremendous psychological and physiological benefits. So when you're in this state of being highly coherent, you have all of the beautiful emotions that we love. So compassion, kindness, joy, Gratitude, it also stimulates our immune system, but it also does things like neurologically. So it creates clarity in our mind, it increases creative thinking, and it triggers oftentimes those pretty fun aha moments. So coherence is this really incredible thing that horses help us move into and teach us a lot about. And it's all based in kind of the intelligence and the brilliance of our hearts. And this, I'm going to share a little bit of research, all from the Heart Math Institute. This is not mine. So if you want the research, I can send you the link. But the heart is the most powerful generator of electromagnetic energy we have in our entire body. And so the heart's electric field is 60 times greater than that of the mind. And the heart's magnetic field is 5,000 times greater than that of the mind. So the heart has just this tremendous capacity to inform our life and, kind of drive emotions and drive our everyday kind of state of being. And this is where the horses come in such a brilliant way, because the horse's heart is 5 times larger than our own. And so you can kind of put the dots together and be like, okay, that's a pretty incredible thing. And so if we have the ability to influence each other just based on our heart's energy, a single horse can do that 5 times greater than I can personally, or than any one of us can do personally. But then they also have this incredible ability to mirror and magnify because of their heart's ability to sense these emotions. And so, for example, we carry all sorts of different emotions, and those emotions have different energies. And the horse's ability, they have this really keen ability as a prey animal to pick up on these subtle shifts in energy, even when we're not aware of it. So when we're interacting with a horse, and Colby and I do this every day, they're mirroring what we're feeling. And oftentimes I don't know it. I'm like, why is Max being such a pain in the butt today? Oh, it's because I'm being such a pain in the butt today. But the crazy part is oftentimes they're showing us things that we don't even realize. And that's the kicker for a lot of the folks that we work with, is that the aha moments, like, why is this horse doing this? And then we dig a little deeper and we realize that, oh my gosh, that's the emotion that I've been feeling, but I haven't been able to name. So they help mirror and magnify some of these emotions, but the element of just being around the horse in the herd is this idea of almost entrainment. Not almost, it is entrainment. So this idea that when there's an intense or larger electromagnetic field, like a horse's energy, next to a less intense or a milder energy, the milder energy is going to entrain to the greater energy. And so horses in their natural state are very coherent. When they're not in stables all day long, when they're able to roam and eat and play and all these things, they're almost in a permanent state of coherence. So even just by being with horses, the very nature of you standing next to them, your being is going to naturally entrain to a more coherent state. And especially when you surround yourself with a beautiful herd of horses that's in that state, the effects are pretty immediate and oftentimes pretty magical. And so some of the things that we see in myself and in folks we work with is, man, it's a release of some kind of hidden emotions that have been lurking beneath the surface. We have individuals that kind of move into these massive aha moments when they're just leading a horse and all of a sudden something smacks them and they're like, oh my gosh, this is the thing that's been in the way the whole time. But more often than not, it's this overwhelming, oftentimes tearful experience of feeling of love. Eduardo has a picture of a colleague who is working with Max, and it makes me a little bit emotional because she's just like, this horse just channeled pure love through me. And she's like, it's a love that I've never experienced before in my entire life. And she's 74, something like that. So one of the most moving experiences of her entire life, just being next to Max. So that was a long story long, but those are some of the things that I think we're learning about from a scientific kind of heart perspective. There's also a lot of spiritual things that I think we're learning about as well, but I'll stop there.
Well, I'm going to share a few photos just so that everybody gets a chance to see what we're doing here, what you've been doing. And this is your website cover page. But I want to go to the one. This is where where you are in Beulah, Colorado. These are your 4 therapists that work with you there.
Yeah.
And this is the photo that you were talking about with Maximo and Sharon
Yeah.
right?
Yep.
Yeah. And what in this particular instance, I was there that day, and she came up and said that he's amazing. Can you tell me or tell us a little bit about what you recall of that day?
Yeah. So these are the moments that you can never manufacture. And it's even hard to tell people that, like, Heather, you're crazy, because the simplicity of the moment was really the thing that was the most beautiful. So Sharon had been working in the round pen with another horse, and she had a kind of an interesting experience, and she came back, and I got kind of this little nudge that, okay, we weren't done yet. And so I just said, Sharon, just hang out for a little bit, just see what happens. What do you feel? And she was having kind of an emotional response to her previous experience, and she was just standing there, and all of a sudden Max came over like this, and nuzzles in so close to her, and it's like he initially just put his head almost right on her heart, and they just stood there for 5-10 minutes and just like breathed together. And in the moment, I, as a facilitator, step way back and allow that kind of sacred moment just to be, not knowing exactly what's happening other than what I can see. And then Sharon shared afterwards. She was like, I had this experience of Max just channeling pure love through my whole body. Ugh. It always makes me emotional because it's just such a beautiful thing. And she just described that it was a love that she's never experienced before. And she's not in a relationship, and she wants to be in a relationship. And isn't that so beautiful? And she said, and Max now showed me what that love feels like. And
Wow.
so it was just incredible.
Yeah, it is. I raised this horse from a pony, a colt, and every moment of my time with him was just like that. He's such an amazing being. And this is him with Bandy, the mare, that's the black mare, and then Gabe is on the other side of
Adelia.
Yeah. But that what you just shared about the contact that can occur between human and the horse is just an amazing experience for those who have had the opportunity to share that. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen and get back here because I was crying too, and I do feel this the same thing that Sharon was feeling in that moment. I could feel it. I can feel his energy, and you can't put it into words. There's just certain things you just can't put into words. So I understand why you're feeling like I'm feeling. We're both feeling the same because we've been in his energy.
Yeah, and it's incredible.
Yeah.
There is Liz, I'm great too.
Yeah,
there is this thing outside of, so I'm trained as a social scientist, so I tend to lean towards the research first and then get blown away by kind of the spiritual side of it all. But what I'm coming to find out is that horses are these incredible like messengers and illuminators in ways that there's no human I found to be able to do the same thing. And that's not to say better or worse, it's just a different gift, right? And so that example with Sharon, where just brought in this message that Sharon didn't even know that she needed, but she needed to feel what that felt like in that moment. I had a plant medicine experience where the horses came in really profoundly and, said, there's like 12 of them in front of me and were like, you've got horse medicine. And I was like, early on in my career, I was like, I have no idea what you guys mean. Is that like, I'm supposed to be a vet? you know? And went home and tried to Google what the heck is horse medicine and found out like, oh, I've got there's this horse coaching, horse therapy work that I probably should look into. And so they have these amazing abilities to kind of drop in. And I always laugh with my husband that anytime I'm scooping poop, like I'm a professional poop scooper at this point, those are the times when the horses like to drop in those little beautiful nuggets of like, hey, think about this, or hey, feel this, or guess what, look at this. It's those amazing moments when you're just totally present, doing the thing that you don't think you really like to do, but it's like one of my most favorite jobs now in the whole wide world, because I know that there's usually a message in that space for me.
Well, I'm glad you talked about that plant medicine. I remember getting the text from you when you were in Mexico saying that the horses were dancing in the medicine. And I didn't know exactly what you meant, but maybe you could explain that a little bit more in depth.
Yeah. So I've worked with a few different plant medicines over the last 7 to 8 years. And it was actually that experience with one of those medicines that brought me back to horses. My horse passed away when I was 20, and I didn't touch a horse for 15 years because it was just, the grief was something I wasn't able to manage at that time. And in this last experience, I was with a group of 20 women, and I can oftentimes feel the horses. And like, if any of you have kind of a connection to a spirit animal or a totem animal, kind of that they're around and that they can help you in times of need or just are present with you a lot. And I could tell that there were several horses with me, and it doesn't matter exactly, but what the fun part was is the woman who was right next to me, she was a woman from England we had never met. And she's like, I have no idea who you are or what your animal totem is, but you had 13 horses dancing behind you. And she said one of them sat beside her and helped her through a really, really tough time. So I think these horses are with us in such incredible ways, whether we know it or not, to be guides. So these are the parts that I don't know how to describe yet. So guide's going to be the best term that I can use, but just incredible teachers, guides, supporters to help us kind of move through the things that are challenging or the things that we don't know if we can get through by ourselves.
Wow, beautiful. Well, the Mayan teachings that I study, they refer to horses as Ke, K-E-J, Ke is the way it's pronounced. And to them, all four-legged hooved animals are called Ke. So it could be a deer or it could be a horse. Mm-hmm. To them, they're sacred. And that is the essence of that message, is that the four legs represent balance on planet Earth, and that they have more of a connection to the earth, mm-hmm. to the core of the earth.
Yeah.
Whereas we walk around on our two legs, and most of mm-hmm. us are walking around with plastic or rubber soled shoes, and we don't have any contact with the core of the earth. Mm-hmm. However, that's extremely important, especially now, for us to reconnect back to that core that we have within our Mother Earth.
Yeah.
I listened to a message recently that Em brought through in 2007 that talks specifically about that, how important it is for us at this time to reconnect back to this core of the earth, and that it helps us remember our connection to the cosmos, to the universe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And so anyway, I just wanted to bring that up, that the balance aspect of it is interesting to me, how balanced more people get balanced quickly when they're in that energy of the heart coherence of a horse nearby.
Yeah, and I think there's actually even more to that, that they've kind of shown me that I haven't really played with yet, outside of myself, is that bareback on a horse, sitting on a horse bareback, because they're constantly running their energy, kind of to the divine, to the earth, to the divine, to the earth, and you on your root chakra are sitting on their power center. And the way in which their shoulder blades move and the way in which our hips move unlocks a lot of incredible things for us. And my own experience, like I get to be my own guinea pig and have a friend come in like, okay, can you lead this horse while I'm blindfolded sitting on this horse and see what happens? And, just have the most kind of guttural release I've ever had. Yeah, exactly. Just deeply somatic work. That happens in an instant. So I think their ability to connect with the earth and also connected to the divine has just an incredible opportunity for us.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't want to hog our entire interview, so I'd like to say that anyone else who would like to ask Heather a question, please do so.
I got a couple of questions, Heather. Did you say right at the beginning that there was some research, the scientific research done with the horses to do with the heart-brain coherence thing?
Yeah, so there's actually quite a bit of research. So I'm happy to share a link to Em and Eduardo and share it with the group, or just Google HeartMath horses. Okay. And there's, I think, 3 different studies that specifically link the work between heart coherence and horses.
Brilliant, thank you. Yeah, because I'd heard about it being done on the humans, but I didn't realize there was scientific research with the horses as well.
Yeah, and dogs too.
Wow. Brilliant. And then I've got another question that probably a little bit of advice I think I'm looking for. So I used to have a really nice relationship with horses when I was younger. I've never had a horse, but I used to like riding them in my spare time when I was younger. And I seem to have lost that connection with them now. But I've had a couple of instances where I've been out walking in my local area and there are some wild horses out sometimes. And I've had 2 occasions where they've literally just come up to me. They've seen me in the distance and then they've come up to me just to kind of hang around me. But I always now seem to be quite nervous of them. And I'd love to be able to get close to them, to touch them. But I don't know, I feel a bit wary as to, am I invading their space if I'm doing that? Or is it okay for me to touch them? Because I don't want to spook them out kind of thing. And I don't want them to spook me either. So have you got any advice about how I might be able to approach kind of getting over this little bit of a block where I'd just love to be able to connect with them?
First, I would say that I really honor the respect that you're holding for the horse and not wanting to rush into their space, because horses are unique in that they value space over touch until they know who you are. And so honoring that, like that is your approach. Like I'm going to honor our space until you feel like you can trust me. But then there's a really beautiful breath technique that you can use, and it's called heart-centered breathing, that horses specifically are super curious about. And it's where you're just standing and you just breathe, like breathe into your heart. Imagine your heart expanding and then contracting, and you breathe in the things that you love about that, what you're seeing in that horse. Like, oh my God, I love how beautiful you are. I love how graceful you move across the land, and just express this love and gratitude through your heart and let them approach you. I think you'll be really surprised by how quickly that happens when you're in that space of deep, like pure, the resonance of pure love and gratitude for that being. And don't rush them. Don't be like, oh, I want to scratch your little nose, even though you really, really do. Yeah. Allow them to come to you, because then it's It's their extending trust to you.
Yeah, and thank you for that, because that's kind of what I felt like I needed to do, was to respect them and then let them come closer if they wanted to. But
Yeah.
then there's always this moment also of like, okay, if I'm being hesitant, like you were saying earlier about them reflecting your emotions, are they then picking up on also the fact that I'm a little bit wary of them too?
Sure.
And therefore that's why they're not approaching.
Exactly.
Yeah. Okay. So that's really helpful if I have a go at that heart breathing then actually.
Yeah. And to be really conscious of, even if you feel weary, if you feel a little afraid, just honor it. Like, ooh, you're a wild animal. I'm a little bit nervous, because that brings you back to coherence. That's your truth. That's authentic. And then you're not seen as a threat to them.
Yeah. Brilliant. Thank you.
I love
you,
it
Heather.
though.
Yeah. Thank you.
Yes. Sure.
I just want to thank you. I'm crying the whole time. I've only been around horses maybe twice in my life. Once I got to ride one and I was going to take lessons, but I couldn't afford it. And I've always been fearful of them because they're so big. And you're just letting me know that I have horses around me. There's 2 places near me that have horses. Well, there's at least 3. And I'm going to have to go for a walk and see if they'll approach me using your heart.
Yeah.
So thank you. Thank you.
Yes. Beautiful.
Anyway, you're bringing up a lot of emotions, that's for sure.
I also have 4 horses like 5 feet from me, so they're just out my door. So they might be helping.
If I may, Heather, this is extraordinary, and I'm really soaking it up and enjoying every bit of what you're sharing. And it's an important piece to, I feel. I have a couple questions for you, but I just wanted to say that this is a really important piece for people to orient to a greater embodiment of love, because the horses demonstrate this. And that's what I was just talking earlier with Eduardo about, what that Light Dialogic is about, modeling and demonstrating. It's not like the horses can say, hey, I know you're not used to a talking horse except for Mr. Ed. But, this is important stuff. You need to, feel this, because, this is, we're going to reflect to you a greater sense of love, to you, so you can start adapting to this, right? So as I was listening, I was going, this is a direct experience of a greater sense of love. And when you're an experiencer, a contactee, we've had these experiences of being a big exposure to this giant love that we can't even translate because it's so big. And so this is the gift, I feel, that the horses and the dogs and other animals that are domesticated, this is their gift to help introduce this greater love in increments. So I loved when you said, when you shared about your friend Sharon, who had that moment, that extraordinary moment with Max, gave her that marker. That was his gift. That was his gift. And so I just wanted to call that out, how we all recognize in our hearts immediately, this is important, but I was just going to try and articulate it a little bit from my perspective, I also want to, a couple other things I jotted down. If you're ever out in the field or with the horses and you want to take a quick little video and send it to us, we could post them and just let people, touch into, to keep this energy within our feeling reach, so it doesn't stay in just ideas and concepts, but the horses that Heather told us about, right? I don't want to add to your to-do list, but I want to invite you if you ever want to.
I have plenty.
Okay, fantastic.
Yeah.
And then I'm also curious about, because when I was sent the materials of, just what I'm going to use to put together the event, it's like we had the kind of corporate background, and then all this recent stuff that's been happening and unfolding. And it's like, I'm so curious between the transition from, with most people I am, who come our way, it's like, what was your transition from the old, recognizing there is an old paradigm and we're moving into something more now? Can you speak a little bit to that? Like what was that recognition that something's not quite right here with the old way and I'm going this way?
Yeah, such a good question. I kind of speak to it in the book as like my corporate crack, like my corporate crisis. I was brought up in Minnesota in a very small town and had, I had blinders on what I thought success looked like. And, was the only one to get a 4-year degree. And then I just decided, okay, let's get a master's degree. Okay, let's get a PhD. Let's get like achieve. And that tracked for 12 years, after I left home, and reached a point where I was continuing to progress in achievements while I was declining in a felt sense of purpose, meaning, satisfaction, joy, whatever you want to call it. And so they were like complete going in the opposite directions. A marriage had dissolved. I was more and more depressed. I was burnt out. I was all of these things. And I was offered what I thought was my dream job, like everything that I had in the corporate world, everything that I had worked to do. So I was offered this job and I was like, okay, I'm going to take it because that's what I worked this hard for. And I'm like, my body hurts even telling the story. My now husband, Colby, we sold everything in Colorado, our house, sold everything in the house. He was moving to California to join me because we were relocating to California for this job. And he knew that I was like turbulent, but I was like, I got to do this because this is what you do. And I woke up one day in a hotel and like crying, hands and head in my hands, like, I can't do this. And called Colby and I was like, he was in Albuquerque, New Mexico, on his way in a car full of stuff. I'm like, I'm resigning today. And he's like, you're what? And so I don't know, Eduardo, if I've even told you this story, but I ended up resigning, which made him resign his corporate job. And then we left. We went to Thailand for 3 months. We kind of, it was a spiritual boot camp in the biggest way of like unpacking all of these stories and beliefs and narratives and being needed 24 hours a day and da 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 da. And that's how Untethered came about. And then the horses showed up very shortly after that. So
what
it was
a fantastic story. I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. It's messy, but it's perfect, isn't it?
Messy. But I would say that the story like continues like all of our stories. I mean, it's not like I'm here today and I'm like, oh, I've got it all figured out now. Whoo, like I keep tripping myself up and keep learning and keep having to let go and surrender and all of these things because I think we so quickly like to attach to some idea of this is who I am in this world and the sense of permanence, and then all of a sudden that's pulled out from under you and I'm like, okay, I don't know who I am, but I'm going to do the best that I can.
Exactly. It's a process. It will always be a process.
Right.
When we just get stronger and clearer and then we meet others like ourselves, and it
Mhm.
just keeps expanding, you know. So thank you for your courage to make that transition. It helps everybody else coming
Yeah.
along, yeah, to
Yeah.
inspire.
For sure.
Does anyone else have any questions or contributions?
I'd like to add something that I think I shared with Colby and Heather the day that it happened. You know, studying in Guatemala with my Mayan teachers, learning their prayers was really important to me, to learn how to pronounce the words and find out what the words meant. And in those prayers that I was saying every time we would go into a fire ceremony, the prayer would go, Maltiosh Chela Ahau Mashimon Inawalis. And I met where Mashimon, the great teacher of the Mayan prophecies and the Mayan, what I would say the organized teachings of the Maya, had been preserved by this man who most of the elders would recognize in their prayers. And then one day, I went over to visit and see Pedro, my horse Pedro and Bandy. And when I got there, Heather said, you know, by the way, Eduardo, we had a animal communicator come over, and she was spending some time with the horses, and your horse Pedro told her he didn't like his name, that he didn't like his name Pedro, and that he wanted his name to be changed. And she said, so she took out a piece of paper and pencil and said, okay, well, what does he want himself to be called? And so she started calling out the letters. And if I remember correctly, Heather, and correct me if I'm wrong, he spelled out Maximo. And I said, what? What? It's like I was shocked that that here he is telling you what he wants his name to be, and it's the name of this elder Mayan teacher that saved these ancient teachings for all of the elders that I worked with in Guatemala by the name of Maximo. And so that's why we have him in our prayers, and that just blew my mind. So
Yeah.
I started crying. Actually, I went over and got by the horses and cried for a while because I'm about ready to cry again. But what are the odds that would be his name
Yeah.
for me? What are the odds, you know? So
Yeah.
there's more to
And
the story, maybe.
it is very close. He wanted his and it could have been I've got a snarky personality, so not everyone knows that, obviously, but when she's like, go sit and see what you feel he wants his name to be. And you're right about Maximo, but he said Sir Maximo. And I was like, how perfect, because Sir Maximo. I was like, he wants his name to be Sir Max because he is this, like, he's got a little bit of a show to him. He's this very confident horse, this very, like, he's a beautiful horse. And it was just kind of in my world, I didn't know Mashimon was a thing. I didn't know that was a Mayan teacher, right? So I just was like, okay, he wants to be Sir Max, so we're gonna call him Max. You know?
Yeah.
But it was beautiful to hear, wow, it had much more deeper significance than my little mind thought with Sir Maximo.
Yeah. Wow. What are the odds? It was just an amazing story. Yeah. Well, if there's anyone else that would like to ask Heather a question, Sharon?
Well, I was turning off, but I will say the emotions that are coming up is the person was Sharon with a horse named Max. My most loving, beloved cat was named Maximilian, Max. And he was, now I realize how loving we had the heart loving between us, but I was only in my 30s and I just didn't know it at that time, except that he was with me all the time whenever I was at home. So that's why else the emotions are coming up. So thank you again.
Yeah.
Thank you.
One thing I would offer is on the website, Eduardo, that you shared on the on one of the pages, it might be the homepage, there's a picture of each of the 4 horses. And if you feel called to it, they will be with you. They will join with you in a meditation, in an automatic writing. Even when folks have not met these horses in person, they will show up for them in ways and provide them. Who knows? But I just want to offer that up if you want to see their faces, and I'll share a video so you guys can see them. But I think these guys they're ready and waiting and just willing to help us in whatever way they can.
Well, we'll get a underneath when we post this video, we'll also post your website address.
Okay.
So anyone can go after and click on that, and it'll open up your website. I think we can do that, right, Em? We can still do that. Yeah.
Yeah, the website
We can
is on
still,
the event page
yeah.
too. But yeah, certainly I can
Yeah,
post
okay.
that on the
Okay.
video page too.
Yeah, that would be great if everyone was to know that, and we'll see what we can do about explaining that if somebody wants to connect directly with any of the horses on your site, that they could do so, and you've given them permission. So thanks, Heather.
Yeah, that's great. Great to know. Okay, so my next question for you, Heather, is do you have, are you getting glimpses of the future, whatever that might be? Like where's this going? How is it expanding? What are the hints? Are you getting hints and glimpses? Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I don't talk about these things to most groups, but I think this is a group that I can talk about these things. I think there's a very deep co-creative space with the horses, and that in my training with equine facilitated coaching, it was very much of like how horses can help humans. And Gabe, the Palomino, has been giving me glimpses and of, this is going to sound really kind of crazy, but I think when we do our work and when we work with the horses, things begin to upgrade and open up in our being, in our DNA, in our I'm going to leave it there. And when that happens, the horses can evolve to a greater degree. And so, for example, Gabe had a request that he wanted to journey together, because if I could open something in myself, he could go to a different level. And so there's this really interesting symbiotic relationship that I think is possible when we engage with horses from a perspective of evolution and growth and healing. Like, okay, I'm here, and I know that I'm gonna be working on my things, and this other horse is right here, because when I do that, they're able to unlock something deeper in themselves. So that's been really interesting. There's also I'm learning that the way in which horses move tells us a lot. And I think horses move along specific patterns of the earth. So grid lines, different energetic spaces. And so in my work, it's an important call out to Heather, walk the path the horses walk. We had one horse who spent 3 months in a 20 by 20 kind of space in the middle of our pasture. And I swear it was because the earth was helping her do something, whether it was heal something, move something, unlock something. The other horses would be scattered all over the property, but this horse found its place in that part of our land. And the last kind of interesting thing is, I think they want to teach us how to travel, and that, like, astral travel. And I don't know how to do it yet, but I continue to kind of get this nudge from them, like, let's go ride, but ride in a much different way. And so initially when I said, I think we're just scratching the surface here of what is going on with this human horse dynamic, those are a few of the clues that I'm getting from them that I'm learning. I'm kind of a slow learner sometimes, but I'm just trying to like go as fast as I can with these guys. So I think it's endless what's possible.
If I may give you some feedback here.
Yeah.
You first of all, you're not crazy. You don't, I don't think you realize the level of crazy you are in here if we're calling that crazy. So, and you are definitely right on track. And I want to bring Liz into this for a moment, because Liz and I have been talking about the unlocking that's occurring through the ET contact experience. So a lot of what you're sharing is parallels with, okay, horses obviously aren't extraterrestrial, and most of the beings that we're interacting with, I feel, and Liz may have a different perspective, are just other dimensional beings. Horses manifest in physical form, but they're multi-dimensional beings, and they're connected,
100%.
as Eduardo was saying, they're connected to the earth, to the core, and all the way into the cosmos. Mm-hmm. They never lost this like we did. So they are multi-dimensional beings who are here specifically to be in service to us, and you're a facilitator of this. You are helping them to unlock. That's what's happening with those of us who call ourselves experiencers. We graduate into the new understanding and more heart space, and they graduate. Liz, do you have something to add to this?
So I take myself off mute. I'm so excited. I'm listening to you talk, Heather, and I'm just like, yes, because this is exactly what Eileen and I have been talking about recently together. This whole unlocking process of, if someone is in this heart space, this more expanded space, and then you have a dialogue with another being of that same space, then you do get this natural unlocking process. So it's amazing to hear that you're having that experience with these horses. It's just amazing. What a beautiful experience that is. And the bringing into the I totally agree, Eileen, with they are beings in form. They are another being in form, another multi-dimensional being in form. And I think that is what made me cry so much looking at that beautiful picture of Sharon and Max, because I felt that love that Max had, and I felt the response that Sharon was having, and that connection that they were having, and it is powerful, really powerful.
Yes.
And what made me cry so much was it reminded me of, yes, this is the love that I have felt with the beings and with the presence in many forms and many times and many experiences. And the emotion that was bringing up in me was the fact that I have yet to experience that love in physical form with someone else, or with another thing, another living form. And that is the emotions that I was having, because it's like, yes, now I realize that is what I have not experienced in my life, is having that love in physical form. So to be able to see that come through in that picture, that's what made me really emotional.
Deeply touching. Thank you, Liz, for jumping in and in that amazing way you always do to help me articulate.
I think Cindy's. Oh, I'm sorry. Cindy was waving her hand.
Oh, okay. Cindy, did you want to ask a question or contribute?
Heather, I apologize for coming in late. I'm trying to get my time squared away, but you were talking about astral travel. I when you were talking, I recognized immediately there galactical beings and everything that are actually in your horses right now. You do not understand astro travel. It's not that hard. I believe that they want to take you on a journey, and that either you connect with them by leaning against them, and they will actually take you, because my guides told me that we all have the ability to travel, and it's where our physical body remains, but our energy body can travel the world. And I've actually been to Egypt. I've actually been in the pyramids, outside of the pyramids. I've actually stood on top of the pyramids, and I've been all over the world, and even in multiple planets, and I travel all over the galaxy, everything. And this is very possible that all of us can do this right now. And I know that you can do it with your horses. I'm inviting you right now to go and travel with them, and just ask them, like, show me. And I believe if you connect with them, they're actually going to take you on a journey that you're going to talk about for a while. That's all.
Thank you. I love that.
Thanks, Cindy.
That was the other thing as well that I just found so exciting, Heather, that you are having a dialogue with these horses. That's your
That's
dialogue.
exactly what I was, yeah, that's where I was going. The
I
dialogue.
love it.
They're
Love
very
it.
chatty.
And the other thing that made me giggle actually was I think I know that I have my moments in the shower when things come to me. That seems to be one of the places. So I love the story that you have, that yours is when you're pooping, scooping the poop. That's when you get your moments come through. I love that.
I love that too. Yeah.
It's genius. Yes,
That's all part of chop wood, carry water, I believe.
I think so.
Yes. Yeah. Well, this has been really, really wonderful, Heather. Gosh, thank you so much for being here with us today and telling us what you're doing on a daily basis. Now, it's like I'll be over there pretty soon with some carrots later, probably this weekend sometime.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, and thank you all who are here for being here today and for joining us, and Heather, and getting to know another great, wonderful being that is part of our community, and listening to what they're going through here on planet Earth at this time. And it's so important for us to know more about how many different fractals there are to this beautiful obsidian diamond that is from the core of the Mother Earth, that has all of us on it as part of our life experience here on planet Earth. And so I would just like to say thank you, and we'll put all the information on our
You're turning into
if there's
robot.
anything that you'd
robot
like to
man.
add, please send it to me.
Sorry.
Am I?
Yeah.
Well, am I coming in clear now? Okay.
Now you are.
I'd just like to say a closing prayer. Yeah. So I'm gonna use not only Mashimon's name, but I'd like to actually add Bandy and Gabe and Laurel. Yeah, those
Adelia.
beautiful beings that I was with the other day. Adelia, yes, beautiful. So Maltiosh, Chelaka Ahau, Mashimon, Adelia, Bandy, and Gabe, and all of us humans here, to connect our hearts to the heart of Mother Earth, to the heart of the cosmos, to heart of all, and send out love and forgiveness and peace. Maltiosh.
Multi-osh. Thank you. Thank you, Heather, for
Thank you.
inspiring us and sharing your work. We're so happy that you're here with us on Light Dialogic and exploring all of this together.
Thank you for having me.
Such
Thank
a
you
pleasure.
very
Thank you, Heather. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you all. Bye, everyone.
Bye.